My name's Alicia. I'm 38 years old. I have a 3.5-year-old son named Riker. I was first introduced to EFry Society in 2020. My journey started off very early on. Both my parents are alcoholics, and my dad's also an addiction. I remember from the very early age, probably about 4 years old, and my dad using drugs in front of me and partying, the grow shows in our homes, the constant fights where police were showing up, blood in our kitchen because of my dad self-harming, going to a safe house. The abundance of abuse and trauma that was in my home was paramount, and I think I was so affected so early on. That's, to me, what was the normal, right? Having addicts at our home, the fights, the parties, the brawls. My dad's girlfriend at the time, she loved the parties and she loved hanging around with young guys. So, she definitely cheered it on. And my dad too, my dad was selling weed, and people would owe him money, and it's really petty stuff. It was like $10 or $20, but we'd never have food in the house. My dad was regularly broke. His car would constantly be running out of gas because all of his money was going towards drugs and alcohol. And so it got to a point where my dad said, the reason we don't have food in our house and we're struggling is because this person owes me $20. And then so I would have to go collect the money, right? And I started fighting with these adults who owed him money. And that's kind of how that started off. And what really introduced me to crime, right? And the fighting. And whenever I got my dad his money back, I was rewarded, and I was treated like I was valued, like I was loved. When I was with this partner, we were together for roughly around 8 years. Within that time, he was deeply in his addiction, and I kind of fell short. I was actually sober for quite a few years, probably about 3-4 years at the beginning of our relationship, and then our house got raided because of us doing crime and selling drugs. And then our lives kind of spiraled from there. A couple more years later, our house got raided again with much larger amounts of drugs. And he went to jail right away, and I had warrants out for my arrest. And it, once again, spiraled more and more, and things just got a lot worse. And then I found myself in jail about 6 or 8 months later, and receiving another federal sentence. At this time, I served about, I believe it was 17 or 18 months, and I was released on parole. But I didn't go to treatment, I didn't deal with any of my stuff, I just got released immediately to a halfway house. Well, sure enough, I fell back into my old behaviors. And I ended up going back to jail because I was in an area I wasn't supposed to. I was using drugs, and I jumped out a window running for the police. I broke my back, woke up in the hospital, surrounded by police and federal guards, and chained to the hospital bed. And they told me I was going back to prison. So I remained at the hospital for a couple weeks and went back to Fraser Valley Institution, where I shortly thereafter found out I was pregnant. After a lot of contemplation and deep thought, I especially taken into consideration the life that I knew and the family that I didn't have, and lack of support. It was a really, really hard decision, but I had to really come to terms, like, what would be the best thing? Like, can I be the best mom I could be and give a life to a child, not knowing the skills or the knowledge or even like anything about a kid, right? I stayed away from children my entire years just because I didn't want to see children be affected the way that I had growing up. So shortly after finding out I was pregnant, I was referred to Kirsty and the Growing Grape families, and started learning about my pregnancy and learning about myself and learning about everything and anything I need to know about a child, because I was going into the decision blind, and I needed to make sure that the decision I was making was going to be the best decision, that I wasn't going to fall back into the old behaviors. There was a conference call that was made between the team members of Growing Great Families, my social worker, the foster parents, and my own family, and we were able to set up in-person visits where my son was able to come see me in the prison. And Elizabeth Fry, they made it extremely special. You know, they brought in toys and they brought in books and carpet and just made it feel much more like home rather than such a sterile environment. About 4 or 5 months later is when I actually got out. I was given the opportunity to go to treatment and do a very thorough program. And both my MCFD worker and the courts really wanted me to actually put in a lot of work, especially with my background, me being in a prison so many times, the lack of change in the past. They really wanted me to show that I was going to change, especially because it wasn't my life that was being most affected. It was going to be my son's, right? And a lot of times history repeats itself. So, you know, and so they're like, you know, obviously your son needs his mom, and you need your child, and so we're going to give you this one opportunity to go to treatment and get your son back. I had a greater purpose, and I started rebuilding my self-esteem and know that hope is possible, and I could strive for my goals, and I could be the mom, and people wouldn't give up on me, you know, because a lot of times that's what I was used to, people giving up on me, and then I was able to be up to my own devices and fall into my old behaviors, and nobody was giving up on me, and so it gave me so much hope and fulfillment, and guided me and really taught me how to live life like a normal functioning member of society, which some people might not understand the difference and how there's a very thick line between the two, but there is. That learning that routine is vital, living a healthy life, making positive choices, even from the people that I associate with. You know, if I'm going to pick up the phone to somebody that I know is actively using, I'm putting myself at risk. I'm putting my son at risk, and all the hard work that I've worked towards, right? Now I have goals and aspirations, which I never had before, and they don't involve doing anything bad. It's having a routine, doing fun things with my son, playing with him, you know, and cuddling with him. Even at the nights when I'm getting slapped and kicked in the head because I'm hogging his side of the bed, you know, I look forward to those nights, right? And it's such a way better life, and it makes me so much more happier, right? And it's the little things now that count, and bettering my future. You know, I'm working at securing funding so that I can go to school and provide a better life for my son and I, and also show him that he can do whatever he wants to do. Like, as long as he works hard, he can achieve whatever he wants to. And I just want to be the good example to him so that he can be the man that he deserves to be, and whatever man he wants to be. And that the future is endless.